Today I want to talk to you about time management and how we can get better at that. It's a lovely Saturday morning. It's productivity hacks and mindset, which is the topic for today. And the reason I'm talking about time management is that there was everybody who joins the Facebook group has the opportunity to put down the biggest challenge in entrepreneurship and the biggest challenge in running. And every one of those challenges that people put down, I will add to my content plan and try and answer what everybody wants me to talk about, if I can, of course, or just, if not, I'll give you my opinion on it, which hopefully be a good starting point. So this was a question or challenge that was raised by Sarah Hartwright, who stipulated that time management was something that she really struggles with. And I'm just going to give you my take on time management and how you can use a few hacks to hopefully improve it. So time management is something that so many people struggle with. It's one of the most popular issues, if that's not a contradicting statement in itself, but it is. So many people have issues with it in terms of can't get the balance between working crazy hours, feeling overwhelmed, not enough hours in the day to get what they want done, and all that stuff. But what it comes down to is a combination of goal setting, and also what I find works really, really well for me is time blocking. Now, the first thing you have to do is, what's one of the most overwhelming things that you can experience? We've all probably got hundreds and thousands of things on our to-do list that we need to remove, and that's the starting point. Or we need to complete or remove from the list. That's the starting point. And what the first thing we want to be doing with that list, which is another topic altogether, is asking ourselves, what do we really need to do in our role, and what can we outsource? That's probably two of the best questions you can ever ask yourself when looking at a task list, and just a little field or custom field or column next to your task. Just put a little checkbox with what you could potentially outsource to other people. Massively, hugely inspiring to actually see the number of tasks that you can actually pass off if you put a bit of time and effort into that. So, but I'll go through the process for doing that in another video. But today about time management. So going back to the original point, we've all got hundreds of thousands of things that we want to get done. But how do you organise that? Well, firstly, you need to put a bit of planning in place. And one of my favourite cheesy taglines is fail to plan, there's a plan to fail. But it's so true. I know it's cheesy, but it's so true. Those of you who know me will probably know that I'm massively cheesy anyway when it comes to, analogies and that type of stuff. But the reason I am is because the cheesy stuff is often memorable, and if it's memorable, it will stay ingrained in your mind, and you'll actually action it. So what I mean by this is, where do you start when you've got a big to-do list to avoid getting overwhelmed? Well, firstly, you need to have a plan in place. So what are your, the best way to do, I'll do a whole session on planning, but basically, what's the end goal? Start with that. What's your why? Really, really delve deep here, because so many people grow for the sake of growing. I did an episode a few days back on growing for the sake of growing, and one of my biggest mistakes in business, and that's because I didn't have my end goal specific enough, or I didn't know what it was. So many people don't have that. So what does your idealistic life look like to you? And reverse engineer backwards. It might be that you say that goal is 10 years away or 5 years away. However, it's a milestone that you're working towards before you then set new goals. So start at that point and work your way back. And you want to get back to what you're going to achieve in 3 years that will keep you on track for that. What you're going to achieve in 1 year that would keep you on track to reaching that goal. It might be that your end goal is, or milestone that you want to achieve, is set for a year in advance. In that instance, then you want to break it down. Where do I want to be in 6 months' time? Where do I want to be in 3 months' time? And 3 months is a really important period, because there's a lot of evidence out there. I mean, there's a whole thing about productivity and the rule of three. And when we're talking about the rule of three, it's a really powerful number in the world of productivity, and I'll explain why in more detail in another episode, but 3 months is crucial because research has shown that 90 days or 3 months is the optimum period to set your next milestone or next goal for, not major milestone or end game that I was talking about earlier about the reason why, but the first goal that you work towards. If you do it in over a week or a month, it's too short. It's really difficult to make a difference. 90 days is a long enough, but not too far away to make a sizable difference to your business, to keep motivation and levels where they need to be. So set your goal, your 3 month goal is a really, really important one. And then you ratchet that back further on what you need to achieve at the end of each month, each week, and you can even ratchet it down to daily targets. Now, when I say daily targets, these are just metrics that you're going to run, which is measuring you and how you track towards your goal. Okay, but so that's part one. So you've got this end game now in mind. You know what you're trying to achieve, and you've broken it down into smaller chunks. You now need to separate out the different projects. So there's probably going to be countless different projects. A project is more than one task to achieve a desired outcome. So if it's just one ad hoc task, then it's not a project, but 2 or 3 things to achieve something bigger, then yes, that is a project. So it's a sequence of tasks to achieve a goal is a project, ultimately. That's my definition of it. There's loads of definitions of it. That's just how I define it. So that's really, really important. I'm just going over some cobbly ground, so excuse me if I'm limping. So yeah, next you list all your projects. So put categories next to all your tasks and list all the projects that they relate to. And the ones that don't have a project, just leave blank. They're just ad hoc. So now you've got that stage, and you should have a list of projects. What you then do is you prioritise those projects in order of importance. And if you can give them a kind of a colour coding system, so that maybe red is the most urgent, green is the least urgent, or grey is the least urgent, something along those lines. Just so you can see visually. I do all this in Asana, by the way. And when I get a bit more established in this, I'll share all my Asana templates and things that you want to use, or you can use for the basis of your task management platform, whatever you decide to use. So once you've colour coordinated them and you've got the order of priority, it's already given you a really good prioritisation of all the tasks. So you've got all of these ad hoc things, okay, at the bottom. Now, you can then throw in another rule for each task, which is Eisenhower's prioritisation matrix, which is basically important, urgent, important, not urgent, not important, urgent, and not important, not urgent, okay? And it's in that order. So ultimately, anything that's important, urgent would come up to the top. So that's where your ad hoc stuff gets its categories from, so you don't miss stuff out that's important. But if it's important but not urgent, obviously it stays on the list, but you schedule it for a date in the future rather than something has to be done now. So that's I know I'm covering quite a lot of detail here, but I will go into each of these these topics in more detail in separate episodes, but I'm trying to give you a high level, because you can't do what I'm going to talk to you about, which is time blocking, effectively without having all this structure in place first. So once you've got all that structure in place, you should have a list of stuff by project and also by how urgent or important it is. And when you've got that, you can then start time blocking. So you look at what you've got to do. You've got this list of things that you need to achieve. So what you then do is you look at each day. When do I start working? Well, first and foremost, you put in the times that you're not working. So it might be that you want to have family time between X time and X time. Block that out in your calendar. Holidays, block out in your calendar. Days off, block out in your calendar. So everything that, you might do school runs, block that out in your calendar. Anything you do in your life, block it out in your calendar. And then you'll then find this area of space in your calendar, which is where you can populate your tasks. But you'll only have a capped amount per day based on your working hours. So what that will enable you to do is, rather than say, I've got 150 tasks to do today, never going to get them completed. I mean, on average, I'll probably get through, maybe if I get through 3, the power of 3 again, of my most urgent things on a daily basis, that's a super productive day for me. If I get through 1, but it's the most important thing, super productive day. Give myself a pat on the back. How many other people give themselves a pat on the back for getting through one thing a day. But if it's the most urgent, it's a really good day. It's moving towards your goal. So there's a little something to think about there. So hopefully that helps. So basically you're filling your available working hours with the tasks in order of priority, based on the urgent project and how time critical each task is. And you're doing it in hour chunks, okay? Now hour chunks, you know, if it's ad hoc stuff, so it takes a few minutes, treat an hour chunk in fours, so 15 minutes segments. So you might do 4 small things in an hour's block. If it's a bigger thing, give it the full hour, at least. Sometimes give it more than the full hour. And the reason you do that is that it will allow you to give it the focus and the time it needs. Because anything less than an hour, you probably won't make much progress on it unless it is something that's purely kind of ad hoc and 2 to 3 minute tasks that need to be done here and there. I've talked to you about biological prime time as well. Apply that to it as well. When I do my time blocks, I colour coordinate the hour blocks in line with my biological prime time. So if I know first thing, I'm not firing on all cylinders, but I am an hour later, I'll do my most important thing an hour later and start by doing the kind of the ad hoc, easy stuff. It's just getting bang for buck with how you're feeling. So really, really important to kind of add all these things into it. And you don't have to do them all at once. You just apply this general principle that I'm talking to you about now. It will evolve and improve with how you operate in the future. But then what you've kind of got is you've now got a working routine, and you do this last thing each day. Spend 15 minutes, your last 15 minutes each day, planning for your next day. The last thing you want to do is start in the morning. You have to map out what you're doing, because it's just another reason to stop you getting started. You want to have that all done at the end of the previous day, so the next day you've got your plan mapped out. And there'll be stuff that you don't. The reason I do it daily is because there's stuff that you plan for the day that will get pushed back. But because you've structured it in a prioritisation fashion, you managed to get all the important stuff done first. So it's okay to move the other stuff back a day because you're doing it in the right order. So, but it completely quashes overwhelm because you almost don't care about the other stuff sitting on your to-do list for the future. You pick that up when you're doing your planning session of each day. But all you see every day is the number of tasks that fits the number of hours, or the estimated amount of work you can get done for the hours you've allocated to work. So the work fits in with you rather than you fit in with the work. That's really, really important. And you can give yourself a reward every day, because if you do the prioritisation right, you're always making steps forward towards your goal because you're focusing on the most important stuff first. So that's how I time block. Happy to share everything with you that if you find it of value, I'll put it into the free resources section of my Facebook group. So if you haven't joined, please join. The other thing I'll add is to please like, comment, share this. When I say comment, anything you want to talk about, if it's not in the questions when you join the group, just put it on a comment. The comments are tracked on every post. So I'll pull that off and put it into the content plan. I'll hopefully reply and give you I'll definitely reply and give you my view, but it just slots into the overarching content plan. And then you can, and I'll tag the person who raised the question so you don't miss it. So hopefully that's going to be useful. So to summarise, you need a plan for time management. You need to prioritize, you need a plan of what's your end game, work it, reverse engineer it back, identify the projects that you need to work on, put them into a priority order, identify the urgency and importance of each task within each project, and add that to the prioritisation process. And then time block your, first and foremost, time block the stuff that's not, when you're not working. So you've only got the hours left in your calendar where you are working. And then put the tasks in this new prioritisation order that I've just given you into your calendar. You won't feel overwhelmed, and hopefully you'll be far more productive for it. This is one of the best productivity hacks that I've implemented into my life, and it just keeps me on point. I never get overwhelmed, and I'm always moving forward towards my goals. So if you found that useful, as always, stay positive, stay happy, and I'll speak to you on the next episode.